Ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease both are also together called inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease means inflammation of bowel. There are these two conditions in the inflammatory bowel disease. Both are not exactly similar, though they say that etiopathogenesis is similar, and that's why they are grouped together. And they both, like Crohn's disease, involve the whole of intestine from the oral cavity to the rectum. But ulcerative colitis is confined mainly to large gut. Ulcerative colitis is confined to mucosal inflammation, whereas Crohn's disease involves all the layers of starting from mucosa to serosa, even the draining lymph node may be involved. In Crohn's disease, you find, of course, both have got ulcers, but in Crohn's disease, there are granuloma, which are non-causative, whereas in ulcerative colitis, granuloma is rarely seen. There, the most important thing, crypt abscess, inflammation of the gastric pit, I mean intestinal glands. You'll find a lot of neutrophil in the intestinal crypts, so that is called cryptitis or crypt abscess. So there are differences I will be telling you in detail. But this etiology of this inflammatory bowel disease, that is ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, is not known. That's why it is called idiopathic. Now both are chronic relapsing inflammatory disease of bowel of unknown etiology. And that's why it is called idiopathic inflammatory bowel disease. Idiopathic inflammatory bowel disease, idiopathic IBD. And both have got this chronic relapsing inflammatory process of the gut. And etiology is not known. Now, as I told you, exact etiology is unknown. And these are the factors. Exaggerated destructive mucosal tissue injury initiated by genetic environmental pathway. So there is a genetic abnormality, there is immunological abnormality, and that both lead to damage by bacterial, microbiological agents. So there is genetic factor, immunological factor, and then bacterial flora of the gut. So these are the three important mechanisms in the pathogenesis of inflammatory bowel disease or ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. So one is genetic abnormality, second is immunology. Actually, genetic leads to immunological aberrations of the immunological aberration of GIT mucosa. And of course, bacterial flora, gut has got plenty of bacteria, and that also plays a part. So we will be talking about etiopathogenesis mainly. Now this is a etiological factor, genetic susceptibility, immune dysregulation, and microflora of the gut. So microflora challenge, genetic susceptibility, and immune dysregulation. Actually, these two, genetic susceptibility and immune dysregulation, lead to challenge by the bacterial flora. So you should know this triangle, and they are all overlapping. Now, what is genetic susceptibility? First degree relatives are 3 to 20 times more likely to develop disease. Both are linked to major histocompatibility complex class 2, both ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Now, ulcerative colitis is related with HLA-DR B4, B2, Crohn's disease HLA-DR5, DQ4. These are HLA2, MSC plus 2. ABC is MSC plus 1, and plus 2 is DRDB and all that. So these are the MSC association. Now, this genetic abnormality leads to barrier mucosal defect. Mucosa has got a barrier, so bacteria cannot infiltrate the mucosal wall and go into the submucosa. So this barrier is affected because of the genetic susceptibility, and bacteria enter the mucosa inside. Now, second is immunological factor. Now, in Crohn's disease, there is a delayed type of hypersensitivity reaction induced by Th1 cells, that is interferon gamma produced Th cell. So it is like tuberculosis, no delayed type of, that's why you find granuloma in Crohn's disease. So it is Th1 mediated, this Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis is Th2, that is antibody. And IL-4 interleukin 4 cytokines, this plays a major role. And what is the role of interleukin 4? It helps in conversion of Th0 cells, T0 cells to Th2 cells. And then Th2 cells will help B cell to convert to plasma cell, and that will produce immunoglobulin E. So it is a more increase in allergic condition. You know, hypersensitivity reaction type 1 is caused by IgE. And in this, TNF also plays an important role. So you should know Crohn's disease is mainly Th1, ulcerative colitis is Th2, and interleukin 4 plays an important part, and IgE is produced by the B cell. So these two, genetic factor and immunological factor. Now, mucosal flora. Don't talk among yourself. Now, microbial factor, third one. As I told you, GIT is very rich in bacterial flora, and this bacteria produce the antigenic trigger for delayed type hypersensitivity as well as that IgE mediated. So it is antigenic trigger to dysregulated immune system, and due to, as I told you, genetic susceptible mucosal defense is altered, and this microorganism pass the mucosal barrier, and they will lead to immune inflammatory response. And finally, this is inflammation which will lead to the actual pathogenesis, that is damage to the mucosa, submucosa, and because of necrosis, all those features will be granuloma, neutrophil, that all will be all result of inflammation. So you should know there is a genetic susceptibility. These people are susceptible genetically, and this susceptibility is related to HLA at class 2, that is HLA DR2 and DR5, DQ4. Then there is a mucosal defense immunological abnormality. Mucosal defense is altered, that is immune regulation of the mucosa is not there. And that's how the microbial agents penetrate the mucosal barrier and they lead to inflammation. They start inflammatory process and that damages the intestinal wall. So you should know that these three etiological agents in the pathogenesis of inflammatory bowel disease. So this is etiopathogenesis, and this is briefly, see, this is from your Robbins. See, these are bacteria in the lumen. Bacterial, this barrier defect is their bacterial component, they go into the mucosa. And these macrophages, they present it to the CD4 cell, interferon gamma, all this Th1, Th2. That same immunological mechanism is, say, either it is a delayed type or it is a type 1, type 4 or type 1. Type 4 is delayed type and type 1 is allergic. So that is this is the mechanism. The bacterial component, these are again dendritic cell or same macrophages. And CD4 cell, Th2, Th1. You know, Th2 in the ulcerative colitis, Th1 in the Crohn's disease. And now these are triggers. What are these triggers? These are the triggers which cause these two diseases are characterized by remission and relapse. They will accelerate this disease. They will make it more serious. And the attack of these diseases will be precipitated by infection, non-inflammatory, that non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, stress, Smoking somehow causes a lot of damage. The smoking is not good for these people. It may cause relapse. Then diet, very important, and antibiotics. So these are the factors which are called the environmental triggers for this, which once the disease is there, they can make it further worse. So this is etiopathogenesis of inflammatory bowel disease, that is ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Now we go to individual disease like Crohn's disease. What is the site of involvement? As I told you, from the oral mucosa to the anus, that is a rectum. And most common site is terminal ileum. So it is called terminal or regional ileitis. And that is the most common site. That is a terminal ileitis or regional ileitis called. Then intestine, small intestine, 30%, small intestine and colon, 40%, and colon alone, 30%. So colitis alone, 30%, ileitis and colitis, 40%. That is ileocecal colitis. This is ileocecal colitis. Most common site is that in Crohn's disease, 40%. And in small intestine, that is a 30%. So these are the sites of Crohn's disease. Most common site is ileocecal region. Then this Crohn's disease has got extra-intestinal manifestation, that is uveitis, that is inflammation of uvea, sacroiliitis, that is a sacroiliac joint inflammation, migratory arthritis, erythema nodosa, red nodules on the skin, bile duct inflammatory disease, obstructive uropathy. So these are extra-intestinal manifestation of Crohn's disease. So all these inflammatory bowel diseases have got a extra intestine. They affect the intestine, but they also affect the organs which are outside the intestine. Same will happen in ulcerative colitis also. I'll tell you later. So they have got local intestinal manifestation as well as extra intestinal manifestation. I have told you Crohn's disease site is most common is ileocecal region, ileocecal colitis. Then next is of course colitis and ileitis. Now, what is the morphology? That was site of involvement. Morphology is fully developed disease is characterized by initially pinpoint superficial aphthoid ulcer, aphthous ulcer. Aphthous, oral mucosa you get ulcer, that is called aphthous ulcer. So similar aphthoid ulcer will be on the mucosa. That is it. Then segmental transmural involvement of bowel by inflammatory process and mucosal damage. Segmental means it is not the all part of the bowel or ileum is involved. It is a small segment which is involved and by the inflammatory process, and there is a mucosal damage. Now intestinal wall becomes thick and rubbery due to edema, inflammation and fibrosis. And hypertrophy of muscular layer leads to narrowing of the lumen, which in radiology called string sign, string sign, constriction like that. There is a pinpoint aphthoid ulcer, there is segmental transmural involvement of bowel, then intestinal wall is thickened and rubbery because of edema, inflammation and fibrosis, and because of hypertrophy of muscular layer, there is a luminal narrowing, and which is seen in X-ray as string sign. So you should remember what is string sign, what is rubbery thick, what is aphthoid, what is segmental transmural. So this is we are talking about Crohn's disease. Now skip lesion. Uninvolved, I tell you it is segmental involvement. So the lesions sit between the involved are healthy. So they are normal. So that is called skip lesion. And in mucosa, there are long, later on, that was initially it is a aphthoid ulcer. Later on, you'll find long, serpentine, linear ulcers, which are oriented along the axis, long axis of the bowel. And there also intervening mucosa is normal. And that gives a cobblestone appearance because it is spare. So there are long serpentine ulcer in the mucosa arranged along the longitudinal part of the mucosa, axis of the bowel, and intervening mucosa, that is in between the ulcer, the mucosa is normal, and that gives a cobblestone appearance. Then fissuring between mucosal fold with sinus or fistula formation. So this Crohn's disease is associated because it involves the whole of the gut layer, that is mucosa to serosa. It causes sinuses as well as fistula, because in mucosa, in between mucosal fold, there are fissures, cracks, and that will go out and form a sinus or fistula with the adjoining loop of intestine, or fistula in the bladder, or fistula in the skin. So these are the various manifestations of this Crohn's disease. And last one is serosal fat is increased on disease segment. As I told, it is segmental. So there is a serosal fat increase, that is called creeping fat, CREE. It is not a creeping fat, which is an increase in serosal fat in the involved segment. So these are the macroscopic finding of, or macroscopic gross morphology of Crohn's disease. Now under microscope, we will find focal areas of transmural, means transmural whole of the layer of the interval of air. So focal area of transmural chronic inflammatory process comprising plasma cells and lymphocyte and neutrophil. So there is chronic inflammation of all layers of the gut. Neutrophilic cryptitis and cryptasis, these are more common in ulcerative colitis. Here it is less. And erosion and ulcer and non-cagitating granuloma and fibrosis, these are the features of the Crohn's disease more. Fibrosis is not there in the ulcerative colitis. The granuloma is not there. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Non-cagitating granuloma, you should remember in this Crohn's disease, there will be, of course, I have told you ulcers, erosion, all those. Cryptasis is more common in here, it is not that important. And there is a chronic inflammation comprising of lymphocyte, plasma cell, and neutrophil in the all layers of the gut. Now I'll show you the picture. Multiple lymphoid aggregates in the serosal layer, fibrosis of all the layers, and you may find even the granuloma in the draining lymph node. So it is a granuloma which contains giant cell, epithelioid cells, plasma cell, lymphocyte, but it doesn't have a caseation, central case. So that's why it is called non-caseating granuloma. So these are the gross and microscopic features of Crohn's disease. And see, these are the aphthoid ulcer. These are the aphthoid ulcer in initial stages of the Crohn's disease. Now these are the segmental lesions, skip lesion. These are normal, these are involved. So between the involved lesions, there are healthy mucosa, healthy part of the small intestine or large intestine. So these are called skip lesions, and these are seen in Crohn's disease only. Now these are thickening and transmural thickening of the wall. And there is a transmural, all the layers are involved. And see, there is some constriction. This will be seen better in the. And now gross cobblestone appearance. These are the ulcers. And in between, these are the normal mucosa. So that gives a cobblestone. This is a cobblestone. And this appearance has been described as a cobblestone appearance. And these are later phase. Initially, it is an initially aphthoid ulcer. Later on, it is deep ulcers with healthy mucosa, which gives a. And this is a hypertrophy of the muscular layer, and that will lead to stricture. See, stricture, narrow lumen. And in radiology, it will appear as a string lesion. Now, under microscope, you see all the layers from mucosa to serosa. They are chronic inflammatory cells. These are the serosal fat is increased. These are in the lymphoid aggregates. There are granuloma here also. And see in the high part, these are non-caseating epithelioid granuloma. These are giant cell, epithelioid cell. There is no caseation. These are all chronic inflammatory cells. So this is microscopic picture of Crohn's disease. And these are the fissures. See, deep, this is mucosal layer, this is ulcer, and this is going deep in the submucosa, and it may extend into muscle layer and serosa and may form fistula and fissure. So like fissures will lead to sinus formation and fistula. Now, what are complications of Crohn's disease? As I told you, fistula and sinus tract formation. As I told you, sinus tract and fistula may be between bladder and gut, from the gut to the skin or gut to gut. So any two organs may be joined by this fistula. So from the you find feces going from the intestine to the bladder because of this fistula formation. Perforation of this in the peritoneum leading to peritonitis and abdominal abscess. Then stricture of intestine leading to obstruction, massive bleeding, and carcinoma colon, 5 to 6 fold increase. So these are the complications of Crohn's disease. Now we go to this is perforation. This is intestinal wall. See this is shown from outside. This is a perforation of the intestine leading to peritonitis and abscess. Now coming to ulcerative colitis, as I told you, this is a mucosal disease. It only involves mucosa and submucosa, not the muscular layer or serosal layer or other. So it is confined to mucosa. Site is also colon with distal predominance. That is, rectum is always involved and different part of colon. Ileum is not involved. Ileum is not involved. Only colon. Sometimes there is terminal part of ileum that is called backless ileitis. Now, rectum is virtually always involved, in addition to portion of colon, which may be proximal colon with sigmoid colon, maybe a descending colon, maybe transverse colon. So, as I told you, there is colitis in Crohn's disease. There is ileocecal colitis. There is a ileitis. So there are three types involved, lesion involved. Here it is a proctitis, mainly only rectum involved. That is called proctitis. Then there may be rectum as well as sigmoid colon. This is called proctosigmoiditis. Then whole of the left side of colon may be involved. And then fourth one, of course, when the all part of the colon is involved. So these are the different portions, because it is not always the whole colon is involved. Most common, I told you, rectum and sigmoid combination may be there, or rectum and left-sided colon involvement. So these are, and then whole of the colon involvement is there. Sometimes I told you distal ileum, that is called backwash ileitis. Here ileum is there. This is appendix joined to the ileum. That terminal part where that is the backwash. They say that it has gone back. So that is a different sites of involvement of colon. So sites of involvement, after that we find a gross morphology. This disease is limited to mucosa only. And fibrosis. You should remember these things. So there won't be any structure, there won't be any thickening of all the layers, and inflammation is confined to the mucosa only. There is not much edema of the whole layer. So all those wall thickness is not increased, fibrosis is absent. This disease is limited to mucosa, and inflammatory infiltrate and this edema, hyperemia, is bleeding and all. They are all only confined to the mucosal layer. There will be islands of regeneration which form the pseudopolyp. When I was talking about tumors of the polyps of the intestine, I told you pseudopolyp, that is inflammatory polyp in the case of this ulcerative colitis. So this pseudopolyp is here. That's why it was thought there. So islands of regeneration between the ulcers forms the pseudopolyp. Now here also ulcers are aligned along the axis of colon, as in Crohn's disease, but they are limited to mucosa. They never go to submucosa, muscular layer, and serosa. And another important thing we should remember, there is a sharp demarcation between the active ulcerative. So ulcerative colitis, you can hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what is the feature of ulcerative colitis as against Crohn's disease? It is a disease is limited to mucosa only. Fibrosis is absent. Thickness of the wall is not increased. And there is a sharp demarcation between the active ulcerative lesion colitis and normal area. There are pseudo polyps formation. So these are the gross morphological features. Now this is a red granular with petechial hemorrhage. This is mucosa of the colon, rectum. And see, this is a dark line which is normal area and involve mucosa of the rectum or colon, whatever part. So active ulcerative lesion, these are normal. So there is a sharp line. This is also. Now these are the ulcers. These, and these are in between area. Later on, this will form polyps, pseudo polyps. See, all these are hundreds, thousands of polyps because this ulcer are there, and in between this mucosa will regenerate and it will form polyps, pseudo polyps. So these are the pseudo polyps, and here also cobblestone appearance. This between the pseudo polyps, these are ulcers, and these are the cobblestone. Features of ulcerative colitis, microscopic features. As I told you here, crypt abscesses will be there. They are defined as localized collection of neutrophils within the lumen of the intestinal crypts with distortion of the crypt architecture. Normally, crypts are vertical. They may become branched. They are not branched generally. They will become branched or they will be obliquely placed. They will be dilated. All different types of that is abnormality of the crypt. And there will be neutrophil in the center of the crypt. That is called cryptitis or crypt abscess. Then inflammatory pseudopolyp you will see in the microscope. This is because of ulceration, healing with granulation tissue and regenerative hyperplasia. So inflammatory pseudopolyp formation because of healing with granulation tissue and regenerative of the mucosa, means regeneration of mucosa and hyperplasia. Muscular propria and serosa are unaffected. Overall thickness of bowel wall is within normal limits. So these are the differentiating feature, and you should remember all this. Now these are the mucosal and submucosal involvement. See, these are abnormal glands. And this mucosa is in this part is not involved. This is only involvement is here. See, these are crypta. These are the intestinal glands, large intestine gland, colonic gland. In between you find this neutrophil collection. Outside also there are chronic inflammatory cell, acute inflammatory cell, but here you will find the neutrophil inside the lumen of the glands. That is called cryptitis or crypt abscess. See, so many are there. 1, 2, 3. Now these are the atrophy of the mucosa and regenerative changes. This is atrophy, and these are the regenerative changes which give that pseudopolyp. And there is a stromal inflammatory infiltrate which is confined mainly to mucosa and submucosa. Complication of ulcerative colitis, as I told you, like a chronic Crohn's disease, this has also got extra intestinal complication like development of liver disease, including sclerosing cholangitis, bile duct carcinoma. Colon carcinoma is one of the complication of ulcerative colitis, and that's why colonic biopsy has to be done to see the early changes of the dysplasia to say that this will go to the colon cancer. So these are a liver complication as extra intestinal liver complication, colon carcinoma are the complication of the ulcerative colitis. Colon adenocarcinoma, see this is arising in the ulcerative colitis of colon. Now these are the differences between the ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. Ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, diffuse distal predominance in ulcerative colitis. Segmental or diffuse, often proximal predominance, that is a ileum mainly involved. And rectum in ulcerative colitis is always involved. In Crohn's disease, often spared. Microscopic distribution, that is diffuse involvement of the mucosa in the ulcerative colitis. In Crohn, it is a focal So there is a segmental, so it is a in between healthy area. Depth of inflammation, mucosa only. Here it is transmural, means all layers are involved. Sinus tracts and fistula, absent in ulcerative colitis, often present in the Crohn's disease. Strictures, absent in ulcerative colitis. Crohn's disease strictures are present. Granuloma, absent in ulcerative colitis and present in often present in Crohn's disease. So these are the differences between. This will be asked in exam. Difference between ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. So you have to write all those. There are so many other also, as I told you, segmental, thickening wall, then stricture, then sinus tract. Now see, this is a Crohn's disease. See segmental involvement. This is most common site of involvement. This is second. This is third. Skip lesion, you can see this. Now, these are the transmural inflammation and ulcer and fissures. So these are all the layers, that is mucosa, submucosa, muscular layer, serosa. They are all involved in Crohn's disease. They are thickened. These are the fissures, ulcers. And here you see ulcerative colitis. It is mainly contiguous. Either whole part of rectum is involved, or rectum or sigmoid colon is involved, or rectum and ascending colon. So, but this involvement is continuous. It is not a segmental. So there is no healthy area in it. So whatever portion is involved is complete. Even the whole colon, if it is involved, it will be complete. And there will be demarcation line between the normal and affected mucosa. Crohn's disease morphology is, it is a gross first disease, means segments are involved. And in between the segment, there is a healthy lesion, loop, a healthy part of the small intestine. So it is called a skip lesion because certain portion of the intestine are skipped. So there is a segmental lesion, there is that, and that will lead to skip lesion, means in between the area of these segments will be normal intestine. Then there is a transmural. All the layers of the intestine in the Crohn's disease are affected. In ulcerative colitis only, mucosa is affected. And in ulcerative colitis, it is not segmental. It is the continuous involvement of the mucosa. Then there is a chronic inflammation, edema of and thickening and fibrosis in the Crohn's disease. Whereas, and this will involve all the layers, that is a transmural involvement in the Crohn's disease. So there is a chronic inflammation, edema, fibrosis of all the layers of the intestine, mainly small intestine or sometimes colon also. But in ulcerative colitis, there is no fibrosis. Inflammation is mainly confined to the mucosa. There is no thickening of the wall of the colon in ulcerative colitis. So there is no strictures. There is no sinus tract. There is no fistula in ulcerative colitis. Whereas in Crohn's disease, there will be fistula, there are serpentine ulcer, deep ulcers, and there is a perforation between different organs, intestinal loop, from one loop to the other, from intestine to bladder, from intestine to skin. So all this fistula and sinus tract formation is common in Crohn's disease, but it is not seen in ulcerative colitis. And then under microscope, you will find in Crohn's disease involvement of all the layers by chronic inflammatory cells, as well as you will find the non-caseating granuloma in all the layers, including the draining lymph node. Also you can find the non-caseating granuloma, and which shows no caseation, but it is xyloid cell and giant cell. There are lymphoid aggregates in the serosa and other part of the intestine, that is affected part. So these are the features of Crohn's disease. In ulcerative colitis, you will find only in Crohn's disease initially it is aphthous ulcer, which later on will form the serpentine ulcer and all those. Then cobblestone appearance in the old cases. chronic cases, you will find that healthy mucosa in between the ulcers. Now, in ulcerative colitis, all these lesions are confined to the mucosa only. And here, the crypt abscess, that is a collection of neutrophil in the intestinal glands, that is called cryptitis or crypt abscess, is very prominent. Actually, we diagnose it by that. There is a architecture of the gland which is changed, and there is no fibrosis, and there is no thickening of the wall of the colon, and there is a very sharp line of demarcation between normal and affected part of ulcerative colitis of the mucosa. So this is what in nutshell. And in etiology, I told you three factors are important. One is microbiological flora, second is genetic abnormality, and third one is immunological abnormality. Now the genetic susceptibility will lead to defective intestinal mucosal reaction, immune reaction, and that microbial flora will contribute to that, take advantage of that, and microorganism may break the barrier of the intestinal mucosa and go into some mucosa, and they will be engulfed by the macrophages. They will present to Th1 cell and Th2 cells. That will start a delayed type of hypersensitivity in case of Crohn's disease. So there is a granuloma formation. In ulcerative colitis, it is Th2 response. So there is secretion of cytokine, CD4 and IgE, prostaglandin, that will lead to cryptitis and inflammation of the mucosa. So that is three etiological factors you should remember. There are triggers which can accentuate the disease, like smoking is there, diet is there, then drugs are there, stress is there. So these are various environmental factors which can precipitate the disease in a very severe form. So that those are, and these are, first thing is that these are chronic inflammatory diseases of bowel, and etiology is not known. That's why it's called idiopathic bowel disease, IBD, or inflammatory bowel disease. That was etiopathogenesis. Morphology, I showed you gross and microscopic morphological features of Crohn's disease first, and I showed you the later on the ulcerative colitis, gross and microscopic. So it is very simple. You have to just apply your brain and analyze the changes and try to remember certain things. It will not be difficult. So I have finished.